Hi, I'm Stephen Hann from Archery Supplies, and today I'm here to do a review on the Goldtip Pierce Platium. These are the arrows I've been shooting for 6 months. They're new out for Goldtip. Now, they originally came as a hunting arrow with an insert over the back end, but they quickly became a target arrow, and that's where these arrows now for me mainly sell. Now, the reason they don't sell for hunters, in my opinion, they clearly sell in America, is the price point. $176 a dozen for the shafts for hunting is generally almost twice the price of a normal gold tip hunter arrow, which is my biggest selling arrow. So the thinner arrow for hunting is going to give you more penetration. However, the arrows generally go straight through the animal anyway, so you could argue they're going to be a little bit stronger than the thicker arrows, but I don't think the price difference between 176 and let's say the normal gold tip hunter, which is let's say $90 a dozen, I don't think the difference is worth it for the average recreational hunter. So these arrows really came into their own for target archery. Now, I want to compare, before I go and talk about these arrows, compare some of the arrows and why these arrows became an instant success. Now, the Goldtip Pierce Platium, which is these, are .001 straightness. The Goldtip Pierce is .003. The price difference between them is $229. This is roughly Australian dollars. $229 to $176. Now, $50 a dozen difference for .001. Now, what difference is .001 versus .003 going to make? The answer is probably not much to the average archer. However, I've been shooting these arrows for 6 months. I was shooting 4 hours a day, so these arrows have had heaps of use. I have not busted one arrow. Now, this is from the last few days. I'm shooting pin systems, and you'll see each of these, I'm hoping I can focus it, each of these pins has been shot. They've been Robin Hooded. Now, these have all been shot. Now, I shoot knocks off and I blow pins all the time from shooting. And I'm not bragging, that's just the way it is. When you're shooting indoors and I'm shooting lots of arrows, I shoot lots of knocks off. And I have not busted one arrow. I've had no arrow damage whatsoever. So for me, the difference between $50 for a dozen is not significant for the amount I shoot. Now, I've shot these arrows at the Nationals. I didn't bust any, and I was shooting with a guy who shoots X10s, Eastern X10s, and he busted 4 or 5. They actually hit the target and they snapped off. Now, 4 or 5 arrows, and the X10s are $545 a dozen, so you're talking $50 an arrow, and he busted 6 on one day, 6 or 4 on one day. To me, that's too much money for me to break. Now, when I did shoot X10s, I was getting a lot of damage through hitting the arrows. Now, I smashed my arrows against each other, as you can see with the knocks. I haven't busted any. There's been no damage from the front ends impacting on each other at all. So for me, I'm pretty comfortable in the .001 straightness and the price difference. But that's up to you, and it depends what level of archery you're up to. So your competitors for the Goldtip Pierce, in my opinion, is the X10, $545 a dozen. Now, the difference between an X10 and a Pierce, the X10 is actually a slightly thinner arrow than the Goldtip Pierce. These are 166, so equivalent of an ACE arrow. And a lot of these other arrows will have the same outside diameter. It's basically a pretty standard size. Now, is it going to buy you points when you're shooting a competition? Now, I shot the Nationals. I missed out on second by 2 points. Now, I was shooting these. I'm up against a whole bunch of people who are shooting X10s. Would have I got a silver if I shot X10s? Now, maybe not. I don't know. I think I was getting more wind drift than the X10 people. But for me, 2 points over an entire day's shoot is really so little, and I did a couple of bad shots, and that would have been the difference. In fact, a couple of bad shots would have put me in first. So do I blame the arrows or don't I blame the arrows? Maybe I would have won by 15 points if I shot X10s, but that's not the way I think. I think I've been shooting these arrows for 6 months. I haven't busted any. Hasn't cost me anything to shoot them, basically. And I shoot pretty decent scores. So since I got these arrows, so my indoor scores, the first time I got these arrows, the first day, my indoor scores, you know, I shot 298s indoors out of 300s. First time I got these arrows, I shot 300. Now that's against my fatties. My fat shafts, the highest score I've shot is a 296. I've shot several 300s ever with these since, and I've shot my personal best with these arrows. So I stuck with them and I got another set of these arrows. So the other arrows to compare against is the Eastern Carbon one. The Eastern Carbon one's a .003 spine. So the Carbon one, in my opinion, is really coming up against the Goldtip Pierce, and that's up to you to decide what you think's a better arrow. I personally like the Goldtip, and that's, you know, people say me pushing a brand. I haven't had any breakage. I've had nothing, and I shoot a lot. So to me, that's how I judge my arrow, and also the consistency of the arrows. I've had no dud arrows in 2 dozen shafts I have, and I've still got all the original arrows. Carbon Express Nanos are another ultra thin arrow, so they're a Lycan X10, an aluminium coated core. Now they're $500 a dozen. For me, I'm not shooting well enough that I can justify $500 a dozen. Now, you know, that's up to you and what you can justify. For me, I can't justify it yet. If I was going to go to a World Championship, I would definitely look at the Carbon Express Nanos, the X10s, shoot scores with them and then compare them. At the moment, if I aim a shot in the 9, I release in the 9, it goes in the 9. If I release on the 10, it goes in the 10. So for me, it's about myself and improving my own archery, not about the equipment. But if I was at a higher level where I'm shooting consistently 10s, then I'm talking about wind. And if I could compete against the likes of the best archers in the world, then the X10s and the Nanos, I'd definitely be trying. So the other one, the Carbon Tech McKinney, it's the same thickness as these. It's an ACE thickness, pure carbon shaft. I was shooting those before these. I didn't have not bad success with them. I didn't have any breakages. They're a slightly quicker arrow than these. And I've got a guy who actually I shoot with who shoots them, and he shoots, I'm going to say, better scores than me now. I've had 2 weeks off. So Carbon Tech McKinney, but these are slightly cheaper. So for me, that's why I tried them. I'd shot through all my Carbon Techs. My Carbon Techs were about 2 years old. And I had a comp coming up. And one of my problems is with doing all the Robin Hoods, I had bent pins. So yeah, I had bent pins, and some of my arrows weren't shooting where they should be shooting. And instead of just buying another set of Carbon Tech arrows or determining which pins are bent, I thought I'd try these, and these worked fine. So the other arrow which I'd compare it to is the Win and Win Tornado, which is also an ACE thickness. That's not it. That's it there. Now these have been really, really popular for me. They're a full carbon shaft, and they're 137 a dozen. Straightness is .001, and I did have some people say, well, even though they're rated at .001, they don't roll over the bench as well. But for me, I've been shooting them. I've got a whole bunch of people shooting them. They're shooting really big scores with them. 137 a dozen. Now, 137 a dozen versus 229. Now, I'm just going to go through what I like about the Goldtip over the Tornado. I am shooting Tornadoes with my recurve because the Tornadoes come in all different sizes. In spines way down. The Pierce stop, I think it's 600, and I need a lighter for my recurve. But I do like the price on the Tornado. So if you're on a tight budget, Tornadoes are a pretty good arrow to look at. Now, what I like about the Pierce, now the points to start off with, I really like this point. It's a really nice shaped point. It comes in 100 and 120 grains. It enables you to add a weight down the back end, so you basically pull off. I'm going to try pulling out my knock. Let's try another one. Oh, okay. So you pull out the pin and then you shove a an Allen key, big long Allen key, which Goldtip release, and you can add point weight to the back end. Now I'm shooting 120 grains here. At the Nationals, there was a whole bunch of people shooting these shafts, and they were shooting 140 grains, and they said with 140 grains they reduced their wind drift. The Nationals for me were extremely windy, and I was getting wind drift. Like I said, I only lost by a couple of points, but anyway, that's okay. But you can add weight. I like this point system. I like the ability to add weight and experiment with spine. I do like the fact I haven't broken any. Now, I do like this back end here. Now, when I first got these arrows, I tried them with the Goldtip nocks, which are a wonderful nock. I really like them. I shot extremely well with them. So well that I Robin Hooded my nocks on my first end. So the arrows went basically straight down the end of the other arrows. And so I changed to the Goldtip pin system straight away. So that's the Goldtip pin system. The pins they come straight out, and then you've got this cap over the back end. Now that cap comes off like so. It goes over. Now that back end protects it from damage. Then you've got the pin. Now what I liked about this pin system, as you can see, like this is the damaged pin I've got. So I can brush this up with a file, but sometimes they're bent when you hit them. So you can just chuck another pin in and you're in business. Now, my downside on these nocks is sometimes those pins are a bit loose. So I've actually had to add a little bit of glue to some of them to stop them spinning freely. But overall, I really, really like these arrows. And for the price of them, I think they're great. I like the pins. I like the pins at the back end here. The nocks I'm shooting are the biter pin nocks. Goldtip do produce their own. I found these nocks quite durable. And to be honest, I haven't shot the Goldtip nock. I do like the colours of the biter nock. So, but I'm sure the Goldtip nock's fine. But overall, Goldtip, kinetic Pierce arrows, I really like. 6 months, haven't busted any. I would suggest the pin system when you buy them. And point weight, I'm shooting 120, but try 130, 140 grains. They've got a nice little weight system which goes down the front end. The point price is about $50 a dozen. The Tornado points, this is a Tornado point, more traditional cutoff point, they're about $36 a dozen. Now the problem with the Tornado pins, which is fairly standard on the carbon ones and Easterns, is when you Robin Hood these, and I do plenty of Robin Hoods, you can bend the pins, and I glue these pins in. Now I should probably glue them with hot melt, but I don't. So then I've got to heat them up and take them out. So the Goldtip system is preferable. Now the questions to ask is, are the components compatible with the different shafts? And the answer is generally yes. But with Goldtip, I generally stick with Goldtip. The outside bushings here, these outside bushings are shaft specific in size. So I think the sizes go 300, 340s are in one batch, 400s and 500s in another batch. But basically, whatever size shaft you shoot, that's ordered specifically. And I'm pretty sure the points are the same, but there may be some different size points as far as thickness of the arrows. But really easy, durable, and I think really good quality. And when I say for the price, you're not up in this big price point here, and you can shoot big scores with them. So, I mean, world-class scores. So for me, now the other arrows I've shot before, I've shot the Goldtip Velocities. Perfectly fine arrow, I shot perfectly fine with them. Except they're a fatter shaft, a standard carbon shaft. Didn't bust any. I've had them for 2 years. So I had them for 2 years. It's just I was looking for thinner for wind. I've shot the Carbon Tech Cheetahs. Once again, it's a fat carbon shaft. Shot perfectly fine. Shot good scores with them. But I wanted thinner for wind. But I've been overall really happy with the durability of these arrows. And that's one of the reasons why I brought a second set. And I do love the fact I Robin Hood them and it doesn't break the back end. Normally when you Robin Hood bushing like this, it'll cause the back end here to crack. And I think it's the bushing on the outside here that is stopping that from occurring. So, but overall, I'm to me, it's definitely one of the most durable shafts I've shot. And accuracy, I'm shooting them for indoors over the fats, and I've got to set up another bow with fat arrows for indoor to see if I can outshoot these thinner shafts. But at the moment, shot my best scores with them. So I'm Stephen Hann from Archery Supplies. Goldtip Pierce, check them out. And if you're shooting like target, definitely worth checking out. The spines, they go 300, I think they do a 250, 250, 300, 340, 400, 500. I think they do a 600 as well. 400's for your 60-pound bow. Now I'm shooting 400s here, and since I've wound up my bow, they're coming out slightly weak in spine, but at 55 pounds they were perfect. So, but yeah, overall awesome. So Stephen Hann, enjoy your archery, enjoy your shooting. So thank you, bye.